Hello, hello, it's Mr. Barr, and today we are doing I can graph anything, linears and absolute values. So the title for today is linears and absolute values. You're gonna need a couple extra things today. I'm gonna sneeze. You're also, besides just having your notebook, so there's my notebook, you're also gonna need a couple pieces of graph paper and a ruler. So we'll be using those items today. So what's our learning goal? It's a new learning goal. I can use the graphs of functions to describe real life situations. Graphs all around me in the world. I want to be able to understand and create them. So if you look around, graphs are really everywhere. We use graphs to describe and explain the world around us. Physics, engineering, biology, medicine all use graphs. But how are these graphs created and what do they mean? By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to graph this function, f of x equals absolute value of 2x minus 1 plus 2. So we're going to learn how to graph that and another type of function. So let's get ready with our notes. And we'll start with our name and the title for today. So start with your name. And the title is Graphing Linears and Absolute Values. Graphing linears and absolute values. So first off, just a really quick reminder on how to plot a point. -3, 2, you start at 0, 0, go over 3, up 2, right? The fireman runs before he climbs the ladder. I've heard it said like that. So you go your x-axis first and then your y-axis. This is your x, and that's your y. If you need practice on plotting points, let me know, and I can assign an IXL for you. So we can graph anything. And the way to do it is just to make a table of values, plug in the x's and get out y's. So if we're going to graph this, so coming back to our notes, we're going to graph y equals 2x minus 3, which is the same thing as f of x equals 2x minus 3. It's just a function. To do this, I'm just going to make a t-table. I'm going to throw in x's and I'm going to get out y's. So let's throw in just some really simple values right here. Let's make a t-table. So let's put it in our notes. Plug in x's, get out y's. And you get to choose the x's. I'm going to choose -1, 0, 1. But you can choose whatever you want to choose. It's your choice. So let's plug in a -1. If I go 2 times -1, that's -5. Excuse me. 2 times -1 is -2, minus 3 is -5. Plug in an x, get out a y. Plug in a 0. 2 times 0 is 0, minus 3 is -3. Let's plug in a 1. 2 times 1 is 2, minus 3 is -1. It's just a bunch of points. This is -1, -5, 0, -3, 1, -1. We're now going to plot these on graph paper. I told you that we would need some graph paper. Here's my graph paper. I'd like you to do this exactly like I do it. I'm going to take this piece of graph paper and I'm going to fold it in half long way. Some teachers call that hot dog style. Now I'm going to unfold it and fold it the other way. Some teachers call this hamburger style. And what I've done is I've created 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes. Using my ruler, and in this case I'm going to use a pencil because a Sharpie just doesn't work. Here in this first box I'm going to draw a y-axis. And an x-axis. Notice that the lines that I just drew completely line up with the graph paper. If it doesn't line up, it won't work. At least it won't work well. This is 0, 0, also called the origin, and we're going to plot, what point are we going to plot? We're going to plot -1, -5. -1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's our first point right there. Now let's plot 0, -3, 0, -3. And let's plot 1, -1. Notice there's actually a pattern going here, right? Up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. We just graphed a line. How did I do that? I made a table of values, I plugged in x's, I got out y's, and I plotted the points. There it is. -5, -3, -1. There's the graph of it. This is called a linear graph because it makes a line. Let's get that into our notes right here. Watch it draw it on this. This is linear makes a line. We have a second type of function today. It's an absolute value function. And it works the same way. We're going to graph f of x equals absolute value of x minus 2. And I'm going to make a t-table. I'm going to put in x's, and out comes f of x's or y's. I'm going to go from -1 to 3. You can use whatever numbers you want, but we're going to be looking for a very specific part of the graph. And if we don't catch it the first time, we'll have to keep trying. So -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. All right, start with the -1. -1 minus 2 is -3. Absolute value of -3 is 3. 0 minus 2 is -2. Absolute value of -2 is 2. 1 minus 2 is -1. Absolute value of -1 is 1. 2 minus 2 is 0. Absolute value of 0 is 0. 3 minus 2 is 1. Absolute value of 1 is 1. Notice that something happened right here. It was going down, 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 and it starts going up again. We really have to catch this chunk of it. The down, 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 up. Or it could be up, 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 down. We've got to catch this part. This part right here is called the vertex. All right, if you just saw a jump in the screen, that's because I had to pause this and talk to Mr. Best for a moment. All right, so what are we doing? We plugged in these values, and now we're ready to graph them. So I'm going to get my piece of graph paper again. And we'll do this graph right here. So let's draw a coordinate system, an x and a y axis. So I have my y-axis, I have my x-axis, there we go. And we're going to plot those points. So what are we going to plot? We're going to start with -1, 3. Let's see if I can get a little bit more of this going on my screen. So -1, 3, 1, 2, 3. 0, 2, 0, 1, 2. 1, 1, 1, 1. 2, 0, 2, 0. Ready? 3, 1, 3, 1. Look, it's coming down, 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 and it starts going up. And if we plugged in one more point, we're going to find that this point actually exists. So let's plug in 4. Let's plug a 4 into this and see what comes out. 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. Absolute value of 2 is 2. So there's our 4, 2. 4, 2. It's making a V. And let's write something right here. This is an absolute value. Absolute value makes a V. So absolute values are going to make V's. Linears make a straight line. Absolute value makes a V. Okay, that's it for our notes. The rest of this is going to be practice. You can do it on your graph paper. I'll do it on my screen. There it is. Sometimes if you're not catching that V, you're going to have to throw out a bigger net of numbers. So sometimes if you have to go from -5 to 5 to catch it, you got to go from -5 to 5. A lot of times we can go -1 to 1, sometimes -3 to 3, but just keep adding numbers to that T table until you catch it. Linears are super easy to catch, just takes 3 points. Absolute values, you've got to catch that bottom point. What do I mean by that? Let's go back to this. What do I mean by that? You've got to catch this guy right here. This is the vertex. You must catch that vertex. If it's an absolute value, you've got to come with a V. And so if you just put this point, this point, this point, it's going to look like a line. You've got to keep going until you get the V. All right. Ooh, let's do this one. Let's plug some numbers into this. What numbers should I plug in? Well, think about this. If I'm taking half of a number, I want to use numbers that are easy to take a half of. How about this? Let's go with half of 2, 4, and 6. Okay, half of 2 is 1, but it's a negative, which makes it a -1. So I have -1 plus 3, which is 2. 2, 2 is right there. Plug in a 4. Half of 4 is 2, but it's a negative, which makes it a -2. Now I'm going big and fat. Plus 3 is -1. So 4, -1. You know what? 6 won't even fit on my graph, so let's not do 6. Let's do 0 instead. How about this? 0. Half of 0 is 0, plus 3 is 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Something is wrong. I messed up on this one. This should be a positive one. There it is. Let's draw a line through those guys. So the line looks like, so that's the graph of it right there. Let's do another one. There it is. Let's do an absolute value one. What numbers do you want to plug in? Well, we got to plug in enough numbers that we catch the bottom of this thing. Let's go fishing. Let's try -3 to 3. Let's see if we can do it with -3. I'm still using the line tool. How about -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Let's see if we can catch it with this. -3 minus 1 is -4. Absolute value of that is 4. Plus 2 is 6. -2 minus 1 is -3. Absolute value of that is 3. Plus 2 is 5. -1 minus 1 is -2. Absolute value of -2 is 2. Plus 2 is 4. 0 minus 1 is -1. Absolute value of -1 is 1. Plus 2 is 3. 1 minus 1 is 0. Absolute value of 0 is 0. Plus 2 is 2. 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. Absolute value of 1 is 1. Plus 2 is 3. We just found it. It's right here. What's going on? Down, 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 up. We just found the V. Let's plot this. -3, 6 is off the graph. -2, 5 is right there. -1, 4. 0, 3. 1, 2. 2, 3. It's coming up. There it is. There's my V. Just like that. Oh, okay, this is a nice one. It's not an absolute value, which means it's just a linear for us. So let's plug in some numbers. Let's just plug in 0, still using the line tool. Let's plug in 1, 2, 3. If I plug in a 1, out comes a 1. If I plug in a 2, out comes a 2. Plug in a 3, out comes a 3. There it is. Plug in a 0, out comes a 0. Plug in a -1, right? There's the line right there. You see it taking form. Okay, this is a good one. Let's plug in -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's plug it in. -3 plus 1 is -2. Absolute value of -2 is 2, but this negative turns it into a -2. -2. -2 plus 1 is -1. The absolute value of -1 is 1, but this makes it a -1. -1 plus 1 is 0. The absolute value of 0 is 0. This makes it a -0, which is just a 0. Plug in a 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. Absolute value of 1 is 1. This makes it a -1. We just caught it. It's right there, right? It was actually going up, 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 down. We'll plug in the 1, though. 1 plus 1 is 2. Absolute value of 2 is 2. That makes it a -2. So -3, -2, -2, -1, -1, 0, 0, -1, 1, -2. There it is. You see the V taking form right here? There it is. And I think, is that our last problem? Ooh, no, I've got one more. Let's do this one. All right, absolute value. Let's plug in -3 to 3 and see if we can catch this thing. -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. All right. Ooh, it's going to be funny. We can do it. -3 minus 2 is 5. -5. Absolute value of -5 is 5. Half of -5, excuse me, half of 5 is 2.5. I know it's a decimal. I can still graph it. -2 minus 2 is -4. Absolute value of -4 is 4. Half of 4 is 2. Plus 1 is 3. Did I add the plus 1 over here? I didn't. This should be a 3.5. -1. -1 minus 2 is -3. Absolute value of -2 is 2. Half of that is 1. 1 plus 2 is... No, I'll mess this up. -1 minus 2 is -3. Absolute value of -3 is 3. Half of that is 1.5 plus 1 is 2.5. 0. 0 minus 2, -2. Absolute value of that is 2. Half of that is 1 plus 1 is 2. 1. 1 minus 2 is -1. Absolute value of -1 is 1. Half of that is 0.5 plus 1 is 1.5. 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. Half of that is 0 plus 1 is 1. We still haven't caught the bottom of this. We still have not caught this. We're about to catch it right here. We're going to catch it at 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. Absolute value of 1 is 1. Half of that is 0.5 plus 1 is 1. It's right there. We can graph this. -3, 3.5. -2, 3. -1, 2.5. See the line is coming down. 0, 2. 1, 1.5. 2 is 1. And then 3 is 1.5, or 3 is 1.5? I messed up 3, didn't I? Is 1.5. No, I messed up. This shouldn't be there. This should be right here, right? There it is. And then this right there. So you can see the lines taking form. Sorry, I messed that up. Bess came into my room and I got distracted for a moment. Boom. Dude, I'm not making excuses. There it is. All right? And that's our last one, I think. They're all... Is that our last one? And we're done. Okay, thanks for watching.